Alrighty, well, thank you all for joining this session of AgTech Insights. My name is John Mann. I'm going to be hosting the session today. You're not going to be seeing a lot of me because we'll be moving pretty quickly and sharing kind of the insights we have with our guests today. So thank you all for attending this October session. We created AgTech Insights as a way for our partners to learn more about trends from experts, as well as the startups that are driving these forward. So before we get started, a couple housekeeping items. Please stay on mute while we have presenters presenting. I don't want to structure this like a webinar. We're looking for more interaction, so please just keep your mic on mute, put your camera on. We listen with our ears and eyes. We'd love to see your smiling faces. We'll split out into breakout rooms after the last presentation. So it's going to go. Billy is going to have about 15 to 20 minutes to present. We'll jump into Q&A where you can just kind of unmute and ask questions or pop them in the chat if that's more comfortable for you. And then once Billy is done, we'll jump into the startup pitches. Each startup will have 5 minutes for their presentation, and then I'll set up breakout rooms so that you can all go in and ask specific questions to those startups. And the breakout rooms will have about 20 minutes as well. At the end of it, we're going to bring you all back. We'll say goodbye for about 2 minutes and hopefully get a little bit of feedback from you guys. But without further ado, let's get it started. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Billy Ram to share his presentation.
Can everybody see my presentation?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this presentation on how artificial intelligence is helping us achieve high throughput agriculture for a plentiful harvest. My name is Billy Graham Ram. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at NDSU, and by education, I am an agricultural engineer. I come from the northern part of India, from a small town called Collier. And my research goal is to develop tools using precision agriculture technology to achieve higher yields with less input cost. And in today's presentation, I will be talking about our need for artificial intelligence in agriculture and then some projects that I'm currently working on. If my pace tends to get a little faster, please let me know and I'll slow myself down. So why do we need AI in agriculture in the first place? Our food population, our population is going to increase by 9 billion in 2050. And that requires us to increase our food production by 70%. Many of this increase in production has to come from 90% of the existing land resources that we have. To achieve this increase in food production, we need localized and farm-specific solutions. And we need to equip our farmers with data-driven decisions that can improve the production of our agricultural farms. How does AI work? AI works with mimicking human learning. So we train models to infer good and reliable information, and intelligent AI systems can make highly accurate, localized decisions. And we need this. We need this to improve the productivity of the agricultural lands that we have. The future of AI in agriculture is fully autonomous. Have we reached that far? We'll discuss that. But what does a fully autonomous system look like? What should it be capable to do? It should be able to navigate the dynamic nature of an agricultural field. It should be able to collect data, learn from it, and make decisions. And it uses AI models for that. It also needs to share the reports to the farmers so that and all of these constitute a fully autonomous system for our farmer. Are we there yet? We are not yet able to achieve the fully autonomous systems in our farm. And until then, until we achieve the fully autonomous nature of our machines, we are researching and solving very specific small problems. These small steps that we are supposed to achieve are divided into 4 steps. First is data collection, then is model training, then robotics, and then how do we integrate all of these? With data collection, the strength of intelligent system is measured on the volume of input data. If you put garbage into a model, you get garbage out of the model. Quality of data is of very important nature when we are developing machine learning and deep learning models. Sensor selection is another important factor that affects the way we collect data and also their computational costs. And we need to balance the cost of data acquisition and the amount of information. Some of these data are very high dimensionality, and it's very difficult to deploy them in a machine learning or deep learning model. On the other hand, there are some data that, for example, RGB data that is very low cost for data acquisition, but at the same time, you don't get a lot of information from it. The next step that we need to solve is training of deep learning artificial intelligence models. A major attribute of an expert system is the ability to execute tasks accurately and in a very short time. While we are able to develop models that are accurately able to execute tasks, we are solving the problem of how to achieve that accuracy in a very short time. Many of these models are very high weight models in a very general term, and they require a lot of computation for us to deploy these models into portable robotic systems. Development of deep learning can solve multiple issues, multiple problems of detection, identification of an object, tracking of an object in the dynamic environment of an agricultural farm, and then classification. Deployable models for systems that prepare the information in real time. Now, deploying models is something that is important. Now we are working towards training lightweight models that can be deployed on systems, edge devices, and computers that are mounted on the robot itself. We this is the stage where we are currently at, and it requires a lot of resource because we have to research on the type of data that we are taking for these model training and the cost of computation that is associated with it. The next baby step that we have to take in order to move towards a fully autonomous system is robotics. And we have a multitude of platforms at our disposal. We use drone imagery, we use ground-based systems, and a complete autonomous robot needs to be autonomous in navigation and data collection. It it needs to be able to navigate the agricultural field. And as we all know, agricultural fields are not very easy to navigate. Platform dimension is a major constraint. You built one platform for soya bean, but you cannot put it in a let's say in a sunflower field. The row spacing is only 30 inches. So how do we solve these problems? How do we create a platform that can be implemented in multiple agricultural fields? Platforms over canopy and under canopy applications are required. So we use drones for over canopy application, but how do we do phenotyping applications under canopy in an agricultural field? That is one major problem that we are trying to solve with the current agricultural robots. The last step is integration of all of these things into a single environment. We have achieved isolated tasks. We have achieved data collection with multiple sensors. We have hyperspectral data, we have thermal data, we have temporal data. We collect data for using RGB sensors, which is very low cost. We have LiDAR, we have depth images. So how do we use this data to train the model and then apply the implementation of that model into a robotic system that gives out information to the farmer to make decisions? How do we integrate all of these? And these are in itself, individually, these are very major tasks. We are trying to solve these major tasks in separate silos, but our end goal is to integrate all of these into a fully functional robot that can be sold to a farmer. A fully autonomous system integrates data collection, model deployment, and robotics into one seamless platform. The major limitation of this currently is the available compute power that we have at our disposal. We do have very powerful computers, but uh, we cannot put these computers into robots that go out in the field. There's data communication limitations. Then there's limitation of the form factor of the robot. Mostly these robots are very small in form factor. So uh, our, 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 our research is also involving into how we can use edge devices to deploy these models. And so, yeah, the current available compute power is a limitation. Now, I'll talk briefly about some of the projects that I'm involved in and the the types of problems we are solving. I have three projects that I'm currently working on. One is weed identification that I worked during my doctoral work, and I'm still working on it using UAV imagery. Then there's a project on disease and stand count detection in sunflower seeds. And then there's a cattle fat estimation project. For disease and stand count, our goal is to achieve stand count and disease detection using a modular robotic operating system enabled system that is mounted on a UGV. So we are not dependent on the ground robot, but we develop these modular systems that can be mounted on different platforms. Plant stand count is essential task in yield management. It allows growers to estimate plant population, density, and germination rate and plant health. Diseases such as powdery mildew can reduce sunflower yields up to 30 to 74%. And if we can solve even a small percentage of these problems in a very localized manner to a particular farmer, these will have exponential returns in the long run. This project is currently at a data collection stage. And yeah, so here is a robot that we are using for our disease detection and stand count. Usually, it's very normal to use drone imagery for stand count estimation. We would want to do it on using a drone robot. So it has its own challenges. The robot that you see here is a ClearPath Husky A800 platform. And the bar that you see, that's the first prototype of the system that we are developing. We are using depth imagery, three sensors that collect depth data and as well as RGB data. Some of the diseases that we are looking into are only present at the bottom area of the stem. So it's very important for us to record data from a very low angle. Here's a feed of the three cameras that were mounted on that camera on that robot, and as you can see, the dynamic nature of this field. There's discontinued lighting. We don't have much control over the lighting here. There are scraps of leaves in the robot's path, and to be able to use this data to train a model uh, has its challenges, but we are able to do that now. The next project that I will the next project that I will talk about is fat estimation in a cattle. Our goal is to use depth imagery data to predict cattle's market readiness. Right now, this step is done manually when a person actually goes and looks into each cattle and looks at very specific region of interests, such as its topmost part, such as brisket, its neck, and then using his experience, he finds, okay, there's more fat accumulated in this area. Now the cattle is market ready. But how can we use uh, artificial intelligence, deep learning models along with depth imaging? So depth imaging gives us point cloud data from a fixed position, from a fixed point. So we know the difference between the cattle's foremost part, let's say this part, and the distance between this part. So using that information, we are trying to develop a model. And that project is at a data collection step. So we are collecting data from different research extension centers in NDSU. The next one is a weed identification project. Um, Palmer amaranth causes 78% yield loss in soybean and 91% in corn. Some months ago, I got an opportunity to go to Nebraska to collect some data. And the fields there, the farmers' field, and even the research fields there are filled with Palmer. Palmer amaranth, it's not very prevalent in North Dakota, but I would not want it to be here. And I would want North Dakota to be prepared in case it comes here. Our models have shown considerable robustness more than 95% in classifying and identifying multiple weeds. And this is part of my doctoral work and also the work that I'm currently doing. We have utilized hyperspectral imaging as well as digital images to train our deep learning models. Using this data, we are able to train models that are binary in nature. That means that they can classify one crop and one weed. And we have also been able to develop models that are able to do multi-class classification. So let's say four different kinds of crops and four different kinds of weeds. And these models have given us very good results as far as their accuracy is concerned. Here are some of the images that I would like to show you. These are the images. So the first image that you see is a prediction the on soybean and palmer amaranth image using spectral signatures of palmer and soybean. And this uses hyperspectral data. And this is a machine learning example. The next image that you see here is an insight into how a CNN model or a deep learning model is able to focus on the regions where we want it to focus. This particular image, the input image has ground in it, but the model is only able to focus on the leaves. And we want this. So through multiple layers of a deep learning model, the model learns to look at the right areas, right subjects, and then infer on that, okay, this looks like a palmer, this looks like a soybean. And one of the last slides that I would show you is of a recent project that does palmer amaranth identification in real time. This project is in collaboration with Grand Farm, and as you can see, this particular model is able to look at palmer that's in between the rows, but at the same time, it's also able to look at palmer that's growing with soybean. And this video is taken from a drone. And they look very similar to us, right? But with deep learning training, we can actually train these models. And this is the first iteration of the model, and I'm very sure that it's going to improve with each iteration. We are still collecting more data to train this model. Yeah. So yeah, that's that's the end of my slide. And if you have any questions, you can ask me. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn and through my email. I'm looking for collaborators. We are always open for collaborating with industries and uh, people who are interested in solving the agricultural problem. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Billy. Any questions from the audience? Feel free to just unmute yourself and fire off. I'll start off with one. Billy, what kind of hardware are you using to collect all this data, like the drone, the camera? You mentioned NDVI, but what's the setup like?
So we use multiple data, multiple sensors. We use hyperspectral sensors that gives us spatial information as well as spectral information. Then the other sensor for fat estimation that we were using is a depth camera. It gives us point cloud information on the distance from the sensor to the subject. So we are getting the distance data from there. Then we use RGB imaging for the video that I showed you. That video was collected using DJI drones with RGB cameras. We use all of these data and then augment them, annotate them, and then train our deep learning models.
Awesome. And we have a question in the chat from Craig Whippo. What is the model and make of the UGV?
It's a M600 drone, and the camera there is a P4 camera, if I'm not wrong. It had the focal length of that camera is 30 millimeter.
Awesome.
I'm
Any
sorry.
other?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's a UGV. So that was the drone that I was talking about. The UGV is a clear path Husky robot. It's a ClearPath Husky A800 model. You can buy it off from ClearPath. And this is ROS compatible. What we are trying to achieve is to make this modular system and attack and make it work with the robot's ROS integration.
And what made you choose this specific one?
So this one has a lot of freedom for us. It does not come with any sensors. It just has a system that's running ROS. And with ROS, we can train it to, we can make it autonomously navigate in a field, and we can add all sorts of sensors that we want to do. So it gives us a lot of freedom.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, I'd say let's give Billy a hand, but I don't think that's going to come through. So, Billy, thanks for coming and sharing your insights with us.
Thank you.
Alrighty, awesome. And up next, we're going to hear from Kirill and Smart Agri Labs. And Kirill is calling in all the way from Tokyo.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, John. And yeah, the whole team of Grand Pharma, I really appreciate the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. So yeah, I will start with this short introduction. So my name is Kir. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Smart Agri Labs. We're together with Fieldbox, who is our co-founder. And what we're building, it's AI-driven solutions for agribusinesses with the focus on agronomy. And I will share basically three major topics of our research. So the first one is basically research around crop input intelligence, and we started with the problem of seed selection and placement 4 years ago, and essentially reached the level when we can add other products as well. So this year we will add biologicals as well to this platform, and it will be available to the enterprise channel. So essentially, each customer can leverage this for product selection, placement, and even SKU management internally. So the second part is virtual agronomist, which is a proprietary large language model. And this is the main use case is to support daily agronomic decisions and elevate customer experience, right? Because obviously there are bottlenecks which should be solved with like modern technology. And for the in-season image recognition, we don't use this a lot, but for some clients, we provide information on growth stages, human activities in the fields. And we recently partnered with a really low-cost provider of in-field cameras, so it's 4 times cheaper than the competition. And this actually is enabling us to scale and have hundreds on fields in the trial like each year. So it's a really good solution. So overall, just to sum up this idea that we really focus on the crop like agricultural products, so seed, biologicals, and any other, so fertilizers, crop protection. And we work with enterprise customers, but also on seed selection and placement, we can work with farmers. And with this new offering that we propose, we will be able to provide also some information on the management and further support. Some couple of ideas around seed intelligence. This is our first product that we launched actually publicly in December 2023. But we had like 3 years of trials. Yeah, and so this will be our third year of in-field trials. And here we have machine learning models that create field-by-field recommendations. And the main secret sauce is around environmental modeling and how we incorporate G by E by M into these models and essentially improve yields, manage weather risks. And for enterprise customers, we actually optimize their product portfolio, whatever seed or biologicals. And last year we had 87% win rate, which means we were better than the current approach, which is based on the local trials in 87% of cases. And also some insights on the LLM. Basically, there is a lot of hype around this technology now. We use this internally, but we also use this as a API. So like any enterprise customer can use this for their own data extraction, knowledge, I would say, extraction. And recently we placed above all other models. So it's number one globally by the independent CCA benchmark. But I think it will be public this or next week. I mean, the whole secret sauce, this actually is around the like additional technologies that we had to develop, because the classical approach when you use retrieval models on top of this basic, let's say ChatGPT, actually reduces the performance. So we had to create something which actually minimize hallucination. And the main idea, as you see on the left side, that we create sources and references for each response. It's like perplexity, right, for agriculture. In this case, users can verify information, and it's really important to build trust in our industry. No, yeah, this is the last slide in terms of the product, and yeah, with the target now retailers and, for example, manufacturers. But for farmers, it's still available as a product, standalone product, with a focus on seed selection. So basically, corn and soybeans in the United States. And for enterprise customers, it's a combination of LLM and proprietary deep learning models around product selection and placement. And the main part is basically customized for each farmer, and we could white label or provide this as an API access, right? So we're a team of several PhD data scientists. We've been working on this for several years, have great advisors from Google DeepMind and other great companies. And currently we're looking to extend our partnership network. And again, to sum up, the whole idea is that we can help farmers in reducing weather risks, improving their bottom line. And as we work with enterprise channels, so they can support farmers also in data-driven crop input selection and management, and potentially incorporate this into the existing offerings to empower the agronomy teams and to provide better experience to the end users. Yeah, so thank you very much, and we are looking forward to connect and discuss this.
Awesome. Thank you, Kirill. We're going to keep things moving real quickly. Next, I'll invite Brandon Chi to share his screen and tell us about crop diagnostics. And if you've got questions, write them down, save them for the breakout rooms after the next two startup pitches.
Thanks, John. Sorry, give me a second here while I get my screen set up. Can everyone see that?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks everyone for being here. So my name is Brandon Chi. I'm co-founder and CEO of Crop Diagnostix, and we're essentially building the ultimate measurement tool for crop health as well as product performance. So to start off, I just want to give you a little bit of context on kind of how we got to where we are today. So it was really all made possible by this man over here on the right side of the screen. Kevin O'Leary, if you watch Shark Tank on ABC, you might know him as Mr. Wonderful. But he's backed us from the very beginning. We actually got a chance to pitch in a Shark Tank style competition amongst 100 different teams, getting grilled by Kevin. And we ultimately came away with the grand prize of $100,000. And then Kevin came back to us afterwards, and he's actually committed $750,000 to our company. And he's the reason why we're in North Dakota. So he connected us with Grand Farm, with the state, and we have 2.5 acres at Grand Farm, an agronomist sponsored by the state that's helping us do a bunch of sampling and a bunch of trials there. So we really owe a lot to him to get to where we are today. But we actually formed the company a few months before we met Kevin. So my background is in chemical engineering, as well as in venture capital investing in food and ag. But I actually spent the last 2 years in Boston in grad school studying agribusiness. So my family, it comes from agriculture. We own a 500-acre corn and soybean farm in the Mississippi Delta, and my brother's actually a regenerative organic farmer in New York. So completely different market, but really passionate about agriculture and bringing a solution that can, help make farming not only more sustainable but more profitable. And during my time up in Boston, I actually met my two co-founders, Joseph and Amitesh. So Joseph, he's a PhD plant biologist, expert in plant gene expression. So how gene expression in the plant correlates to any type of stress. We like to call gene expression the plant's language, right? It's the plant trying to express its needs to us. And if we listen, we can apply the right amount of inputs and, optimize nutrients, optimize the way we apply these different inputs and maximize yield. And so Joseph did his PhD on gene expression in plants and actually patented the technology that I'll show you in a minute. Dr. Amitish Pratap, he is a PhD machine learning scientist. And so his background comes from the medical space, where he actually built machine learning models to discover gene expression biomarkers in human health to detect early signs of sepsis and other human infections. And it was his idea to actually bring this technology from the human health space over to the plant health space to diagnose plant health symptoms asymptomatically. And this is really made possible by the cost of genomic sequencing coming down tremendously. Now it's economical to bring this technology and release it in an economically viable way in the agriculture space. And so we all met through an accelerator, and really were passionate about this idea, did a ton of market research to figure out what are the pain points in agriculture and could gene expression and AI really solve a major pain point. And so we discovered that the number one most critical problem is that existing crop health measurement tools are reactive, not proactive, right? You can use all the imagery techniques you want to use, drones, satellites, tissue sampling, chlorophyll meters. All of these different tools are reactive. They're looking at the deficiencies that are already present in the leaf. Some of these quotes from the customers we're working with, tissue sampling is just confirming what we already know. Once you see the deficiency, once you catch the deficiency, you've already lost yield potential, right? The goal in agriculture should be to be proactive, not reactive. The second key problem that we discovered is that product performance is extremely difficult to measure, right? We have seen thousands and thousands of products come into into the market, especially when we look at the biologicals landscape. You can't even see all the logos in here because there are so many products, but we don't know which ones actually work, and most importantly, why, right? We can use visual analysis to try to get an answer. We can look at, one plant's bigger than the other, so maybe, my product is working and you should buy my product. But that doesn't explain the mode of action. You can wait till the end of the season and can look at what comes off the yield monitor, right? To determine, okay, one field yielded and the other didn't, so maybe my product is working. But yield is impacted by countless variables. Why did that product work? Ultimately, we don't have a tool that can provide these answers. So at Crop Diagnostics, we're looking inside the plant at the molecular level. So our RNA test essentially decodes the plant's language. We're looking inside the 30,000 genes within a corn plant that are turning on and off in response to any abiotic or biotic stress. And we can tell you what the plant is asking for, right? The process at a high level, you send us a hole punch of a leaf from your corn plant. We use RNA sequencing and machine learning to decode what's happening in the gene expression of the plant, and we turn around those actionable insights within 48 hours. Some of the benefits that you're going to get from our RNA test, the first and foremost is that asymptomatic detection. The analysis that we're providing is 2 weeks in advance of 2 to 3 weeks in advance of what you're going to see from a traditional tissue sample, right? This is ultimately the first thing that a plant is going to express before those symptoms or stresses appear weeks later, right? And so, our customers always ask us, what's the turnaround time? What's the turnaround time? Our turnaround time is very quick. It's only 48 hours. But even if we took a week to turn around our insights, our test is inherently 2 to 3 weeks earlier than a tissue sample. And so the information that we're giving you is ultimately proactive instead of that reactive analysis. We can also look at any facet of crop health, right? So tissue sampling, you can only look at nutrient and micronutrient levels. We're looking at nutrient, micronutrient stress, pathogen stress, fungal stress, drought stress, growth velocity, any facet of plant health that you want to understand, we can decode that through gene expression. Obviously, because of that, we can understand combinatorial stresses and really get to the root cause of what's going on, right? Was it a heat stress that actually caused a micronutrient deficiency, et cetera? Our sampling process is very easy. I'll dive into that shortly. And you can start sampling from the earliest stages, and you don't have to pull the whole plant, right? This is a hole punch size sample that you can start from the V2, V3 stage in corn and sample throughout the season. Sampling process is very easy. You take one hole punch from about 10 to 15 plants out in the field. It's literally a paper hole puncher. You pour that into a test tube. We'll send you the whole kit. So you pour the hole punches into a test tube, and you ship that to Crop Diagnostics at room temperature. So our customers that have been using us all year, they love how easy our product is to use, but the best part of it all is they love how cheap it is, right? Traditional tissue sampling, $30 to $60, gets you just basic nutrient level. It's reactive, not proactive, right? We're providing you a better product, and best of all, it's cheaper. So we're making the ROI math easy. I'll skip over this side. Essentially, our go-to-market is we're going the B2B route. We're not going direct to farmer yet. We're starting with partnering with input manufacturers as well as ag retail to really help them, vet products, make sure their products are actually working. We know why they're working, and using our technology as a way to diagnose how the plant is actually responding to your product. We've done tons of trials this year, including at Grand Farm and with several customers. Again, the feedback has been the sampling procedure is so much easier and faster. Last week, one of my customers told me they love sampling so much and it's so easy that a monkey could do it. And we love to hear that. And we're getting really good feedback as well on how we're able to distinguish between specific stresses, which I think is critical to really get to those root causes and answers.
Alrighty, Brandon, I do have to cut you off here. I'll give you one last sentence, and then we're going to jump into the next presentation.
We'll be commercial in 2025, so please reach out if you're interested.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brandon. And last but not least, we're going to hear from Chad Hokama and NightHawk Ag. Once Chad is done presenting, I'm going to throw you all into breakout rooms. Feel free to pop in between them, ask questions, and then I'll yank you back in the last minute. Chad, the floor is yours.
I'll just do a brief introduction of NightHawk and what we're doing, but then hopefully have a few minutes to show you a simple use case demonstration in our product. So at NightHawk, I'm a founder. We've been in agriculture trying to make AI technologies and machine learning technologies actually work and commercialize them for the better part of the last 15 years. And right now, we've decided to really focus on the underlying sort of a fundamental problem in ag, and that's our data infrastructure. And so we're building data infrastructure for digital ag. So when we talk about like the future of ag, this has been covered in depth. We all know what we're talking about: precision management, autonomy, using data to get better positioning in supply chains for farmers. All of this really depends, from our perspective, on a very powerful data infrastructure that today simply doesn't exist. My co-founders and I have built amazing applications in robotics and artificial intelligence, but we have all run into the exact same bottleneck every single time, which is the data that you need to really keep those systems running is hard to get, hard to collect, hard to keep, hard to get it in the right place at the right time. So that's the focus for us. Our technology, our solution is building that data foundation, a data platform. We think this is good for the industry, but also from a business perspective, encourages wide usage. It's sticky and allows a lot of other developers and other solution providers to build on an interoperable data platform. So our first solution is a cloud-based SaaS, managed solution of our technology that basically seamlessly integrates farmers' data, incorporates a vast knowledge base from public sources and other sources, and uses all that to power an intelligent co-pilot. So let me just show what I'm talking about, hoping that this is still following, that I have this on the screen here. So our system really, the heart of it is associating data with places in the world, particularly fields. So we make it very easy to integrate farmers' fields. And I've added a few already just for ease of use. This one here, Kelly Field 8. But adding fields we make very easy. We have a simple method of deriving where fields are. So it's easy for farmers to just, for our users to just add things. And again, we're trying to just remove all the friction that we've encountered when trying to use farm management and other precision tools. So what happens next is we integrate with a number of different data sources so that we're automatically streaming documents and other data in all the time. And there's an artificial intelligence that's processing all this data in real time, analyzing it, figuring out what is supposed to be learned, but most importantly, creating sort of a digital reconstruction of what's happening on a farm. So we can bring in labels, lab reports, work orders, and I'll give an example here, some invoices we're all hopefully somewhat familiar with, in this case, some crop protection materials. And so all of this gets ingested unattended by the system and powers some pretty interesting analysis. So a simple use case I'll sort of show here is a question that I often have working on farms. What are my expenses on Kelly? I believe it was Kelly Field 8 that we looked at year to date. So really, I just want to know, like, how much have I spent on crop protection in particular this year for this field? And see, Copilot is thinking about it, but what it's doing is it's referencing. It knows that I have a field, and it knows that there's data that references that or that intersects with that in different ways. And it tells me based on the work reports that I've thrown in, and it's associated those with line items in the invoice. It knows how much I've spent. So in this case, it's telling me, oh, you've spent approximately or about $1,200. Actually, I'm a farmer, so I think about everything per acre. Can you give me that in dollars per acre? So again, if anyone's done this before, the data collection, the spreadsheet engineering to get this is quite time consuming, but a lot of this just happens passively by automatically processing all of their documents. Comes up with a reasonable number, $39.64. The really cool thing, last thing I'll show, is we're able to then take this information, and this is something that I might want to know going forward, right? We have this notion of watchers, where I can add, hey, next time I get an invoice, if my expense per acre on Kelly Field 8 exceeds, let's say, $100 per acre, please alert me. And so rather than having to come back in and repeat my question every time I want to know this answer, I can just sort of set up a reminder or a triggered notification so that every time these documents.
Alrighty, thank you all for joining this call. I know that was an incredibly short time, somewhat intentional. Please reach out to these folks, set up some conversations. I'm going to throw a really quick poll up here. If you give us a rating out of 10, I know we've got improvements to make, but it's better with your feedback. Yeah, thanks for joining, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Would love to hear what topics you're interested in, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.